Hello and welcome to this chess video. We are going to review a game from the second round of the Tata Steel Chess Masters. Now, in the first round we had two players win with the black pieces. One of them was Nepomniachtchi, who's playing in this game that we're going to review against Magnus Carlsen. He has the black pieces again. And the other one was Vishy Anand against Jordan van Forest. Before going on to the game, I think it's interesting to have a look at the games that Carlsen and Nepomniachtchi have played together, because as you can see on the screen, this is a list of games that they have played according to my database, and Nepomniachtchi has a very good score against Carlsen. Actually, he's +4 in classical. If you look at the top of your screen, it's from the European Under 12 Championship, and Nepo won that game. He also won at the World Championship Under 14, and then he beat him with the black pieces at Tata Steel in 2011. Then we had some wins by Carlsen in Rapid, Blitz, and then at the bottom we have a game from the London Classic 2017. So +4 for Nepo in classical chess, and I don't think Carlsen has won a game in classical chess against Ian Nepomniachtchi, so very interesting. He's kept the sort of psychological edge from their youth tournaments. They're also very good friends and they know each other quite well. Nepo has been a second for Carlsen, so he also knows some opening secrets that only they know. But yeah, this time around Carlsen had the white pieces and he opened with pawn to d4. So Carlsen coming off a draw in the first round against Ding Liren. And we have knight f6, c4 and g6. Now Nepo is perhaps best known for his Grunfeld, which would be instigated by the move d5. For instance, if white were to go knight c3, which Carlsen didn't, we have d5, the Grunfeld defense. But Carlsen in this game decided to adopt a rather sharp anti-Grunfeld line. He played f3. So now if black plays d6, as indicated by the red arrow, white will play e4, and we have a King's Indian, the Samish variation. That's what pawn to f3 in the Samish and the King's Indian is called, the Samish variation. And here, okay, black could go for d5, but he went e6 in the game. If he goes d5, we have a sharp line where white takes. A lot of theory in this. White can eventually attack on the king side with h4, h5. Usually the king will go to the queen side, and yeah, we will have a sharp game. Many games in this, and the theory is quite sharp. And we had some games on top level in these lines, but for this game, Nepo went e6. So he might go d5, he might also do as he did in the game after e4 to play c5. Attacking the white center, and after d5 and d6, we are most likely transposing to the f3 line. And this can arise from the King's Indian, as it does here, or the Benoni defense. So a very common position, and we have some natural moves here, and after black takes on d5, we have transposed to this Benoni King's Indian hybrid position. a6, and as usual white plays a4 when black is threatening to play b5, stopping that break. One of black's ideas in the Benoni is to play b5. Castles, knight to g3. The knight is in the way of the bishop. We have to get this bishop out eventually. Knight b to d7, bishop to e2. And here, yeah, usually black is playing, the most common move is to play h5. And yeah, the yellow arrows indicate a recent idea that AlphaZero played in its match against Stockfish. A very interesting game that I haven't covered, but I want to, and I will cover on my channel. One of those games with these fun pawn ideas, but these h5 moves and these ideas are very common in these lines. But Nepo went for knight to e8 here, which has different ideas. And after bishop f4, he played rook b8. Black, like we mentioned earlier, black wants to play b5 usually in these structures. Expand on the queen side because it works well with the bishop on this diagonal. But the knight and the bishop, as indicated by the red squares, they are covering b5 for now. So white castles, but now we see black's idea. With the rook b8 he plays c4, and if white does nothing, black will play b5 and have an excellent position with these pawns here on b5 and c4. Great square for his knight, and a diagonal that might be used here. So white takes the pawn, and Nepo gives a check, and here rook f2. This is an exchange sacrifice because Nepo can, and he played bishop to d4, attacking this guy. And now Carlsen played queen to d2, which is actually a novelty. There have been some correspondence games in these lines, and in all of them white played knight to h1, black took on b2, white took on d4, black captured the rook, rook f1, and the game went like this. And white gets a small edge, but so far the games have ended in a draw, but white maybe slightly pressing. But for this one, Carlsen went with a queen to d2. Now, of course, we want to take the exchange, but why not flick in knight to e5, improve the knight and open up for your bishop here. White played bishop to f1. We can note that if white takes on e5, black will take with the pawn and keep the pressure on the rook, and an excellent blockading square on d6 for the knight. So Carlsen retreats, bishop to f1, and now Nepo takes the exchange. But white has some competition, of course. First of all, he has one pawn for the exchange, and the very strong and unopposed dark squared bishop. But black is up material, and if he can somehow stabilize the position and open things up for the rooks, then he can maybe look forward to the future. For now, he gets his bishop out, bishop to d7. Carlsen went bishop to e3. Seems like he fancied this diagonal a bit more than keeping the bishop on f4. Also, maybe in some cases you want to play h3 and f4 and simply push this knight, so getting the bishop out of the way seems like a useful idea to go along with that plan. Nepo expanded with f5. Of course, we have this threat of playing f4. Carlsen first took, because he wants a square on e4 for his pieces if black were at some point to push the pawn. He gets out of the fork on f4, plays bishop to d4. Nepo finally improves the knight that has been sitting here on e8 for a while, knight to f6. And now king g1. Don't fully understand this move. There doesn't seem to be any tactical reason for moving the king or why it should be bad on f2. But okay, you can't understand all the moves of the world champion, but he played king g1, which seems... I don't fully understand it, I must admit. Okay, rook b to c8 by Nepomniachtchi, eyeing the c4 square for his knight perhaps. And now a nice maneuver by Carlsen, played rook a3. He wants to activate the rook and hit the target on b7, the weak pawn on b7. The knight comes into c4, rook to b3. And this is not an easy pawn to defend, because if you use the rook, you have to keep an eye on this guy as well, so you could become overloaded with the rook. So Nepo played b5, ab, and now knight to d2. And now we get a phenomenal position. Rook to b4. The rook was attacked, so of course it moves. Knight takes f1, and one would expect white to take on f1, but he took on a6. Of course, black took on g3, and pawn takes. And at the moment, Carlsen is a rook down. He does have 3 pawns for it, but those have to be really strong pawns to compensate for a rook. But lo and behold, there's a reason why he is the world champion, and he does have compensation. Now, first of all, okay, we have a very, very nice dark squared bishop, which will support a pawn once you push it to a7. Number two, black doesn't really have good pieces. I mean, look at this guy. It's not going anywhere. You can't go here. Can't go here. You can go to h5. The bishop is in the way. Also, the bishop doesn't have any squares. Can't go here. Can't go here. You can't go here. It can only go to this square, and the knight can only go to this square. So the knight is attacked. Let's say we play something like knight to h5. I play rook b7. I hit your bishop. And it's not easy to protect the bishop. If you put like a rook on f7, you're taking it off the 8th rank, and I can push a7. And same if you play, if you play bishop to e, sorry, let's go back to this position. If you play bishop to e8 here, I'll play a7. And I'm threatening rook here. So now you have to move the bishop again. But lo and behold, now I just push the other pawn, and black can't allow that. So after h takes g3. And in this position, Nepo played rook b8, which gives white the knight on f6. Carlsen took it, he took on b8 and took the knight on f6. But now Nepo at least is getting this pawn, getting rid of this dangerous pass pawn. And after knight d1, Carlsen offered a draw, which Nepo accepted. I don't think he has any reason to try to win this, and I don't think white can win this either. White's only chance is to push this pawn, but it's very easily blockaded, and also white will probably be busy protecting this weakness. So let's say black takes. We can very easily build sort of a fortress here, maybe play king f2 or bishop c3. Let's say we attack it, we play here. And we can sort of combine attack and defense, put the bishop back on c3. Everything seems to be protected. I don't see how black really improves his position. And white seems to have a fortress with all these pieces on dark squares. So that's what they thought as well, Carlsen and Nepo, and they agreed to a draw after knight to d1. So a strong start for Nepo, 1.5 out of 2 with the black pieces against Carlsen and Giri, a very good result. Meanwhile, Carlsen 2 draws, but I mean, I really like the games. These games have been really exciting, and I hope he keeps playing like this. We will see some wins definitely as the tournament goes on, but for now, a quiet start, 2 draws, and yeah, we'll have to wait and see. If you haven't, subscribe, and there's another video here, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.